Hello everyone. Now you will hear a brief retelling of the movie Spree. Enjoy the movie. Kurt is a man who has been attempting to get notoriety on the internet for a long time. On his channel Kurt's World 96, he performs a variety of activities, such as gaming, reviewing shoes, creating Draw My Life videos, and discussing his preferred keyboard shortcuts. Additionally, he flaunts his father Chris, a DJ who long ago divorced Kurt's mother. Kurt made the decision to be a good son and live with his mother while earning money by babysitting because his mother had been so unhappy over this. Kurt, on the other hand, has never been able to consistently find a following for his films, even with a large volume of recordings. This is not the same as Bobby and his channel Bobby Basecamp. Bobby is a prominent influencer who was once a child Kurt used to babysit. Although Bobby only tolerates Kurt and moves him away from his own camera, Kurt regards himself as his friend. Kurt hits a breaking point after 10 years of botched streaming, and he's ready to give his channel one final go with a lesson he calls the lesson that teaches people how to build an online following. Step 1 of the lesson, he says, is to prepare your car with many cameras and a large number of water bottles. If you're not documenting yourself, you simply don't exist. This car will be used by Kurt to work as a driver for a rideshare app called Spree, and the first passenger he picks up is a man that refuses to put on his seatbelt and is suspicious of the cameras, but Kurt just tells him they're for protection. This guy also preaches the gospel of white supremacy, and Kurt's worried that this racism could hurt his live streaming audience, which is currently just Bobby, so he begins driving a bit more recklessly. The guy complains, but Kurt just encourages him to drink his free bottled water. It turns out that this water has been poisoned, and Kurt even made a whole video tutorial on how to do so without getting caught. The man passes away in the backseat of Kurt's car, coughing away his life, while Kurt turns on some music and runs a stop sign. Bobby, Kurt's lone spectator, believes the death was staged for publicity, but Kurt accepts this since it's all part of the lesson. Initially, no one should be able to tell that what he's doing is real because he wants to complete as many as possible covertly in order to get as much attention as possible later on. The next person Kurt picks up is a sarcastic realtor who puts her sign in the trunk. She chooses to go get a water bottle on her own after some small talk, and she soon becomes Kurt's second victim. Kurt quips that he might even drink the water as he moves to the rear seat to properly show the corpse on video. Kurt hangs up on Chris when he phones him at that precise time to beg for a ride. Then he goes about covering his tracks, first using her dead face to unlock her phone, giving himself 5 stars on the ride app, then sending a nasty text message in response so the woman won't be anticipated at a work meeting. Kurt loads up Mario, an unpleasant meathead, as his next passenger after disposing of the dead. Mario objects to Kurt trying to play some of his own music and won't touch the free water. After that, Kurt ignores Mario's objections because he was the one who selected the pool option and makes a detour to pick up another passenger. When Jessie, a well-known influencer and stand-up comedian, hears that Mario is making advances toward her, she immediately cancels the trip and leaves. Kurt gives in to Mario's pressure and promises to drive her for free in exchange for getting her into the car. Kurt, who is driving, learns that she has a large fan base and asks her how it happened. She tells him that it's because she's amusing. Jessie, who is tired of these two weird males bothering her, records everything on her social media before getting out of the car because Kurt is pleading with her for aid and Mario keeps making improper comments. Kurt abruptly switches directions and drives Mario to a far-off construction site because he is now furious that he missed the opportunity to become friends with a genuine successful influencer. Kurt forces Mario to get out of the car as he starts to throw up on the seats due to his rapid driving. Kurt plays his own music loudly and accelerates to crash his car into Mario. The body soars above the car and lands on the front glass for the ideal gory angle for the camera. Mario moans but goes anyway since he has to relieve himself. Kurt follows Jessie on social media after disposing of Mario's body and washing the vehicle, discovering that she is performing a stand-up concert that evening. Taking this as an omen, he declares that he and Jessie are 2 major events taking place on the same evening. Bobby, who continues to believe that the deaths are false, is Kurt's lone tipper, indicating that he is clearly not that popular yet. This is due to the fact that he is a highly false creative himself. He frequently plays practical jokes on the homeless and staged his one-time assistance for the cameras. This is not Jessie at all, who is liked by the public because she is real and personable. Shortly after, Kurt makes a stop at the gas station, where he argues with Bobby and tells him to liven up his stream. He also gets rid of the realtor's sign and fills up the tank. After the car has been thoroughly cleaned of all the blood, Kurt attempts to add some spice to Bobby's remarks by driving erratically for his next passengers, a group of 3 socialites named Richard, Kendra, and London. Kurt's driving style at first terrifies Richard and Kendra, but London becomes thrilled because she feels like she's going on an adventure and she immediately goes to the front seat to talk to Kurt. Kurt eventually veers off course once more and takes the 3 of them to a junkyard, where he tells Richard and Kendra to enjoy the gorgeous view from the sunroof, which is ideal for Instagram photos. Kurt starts driving faster and abruptly closes the sunroof, trapping his next victims as his song plays in the background. Richard and Kendra go along and genuinely enjoy themselves. At that point, Kurt uses a power drill he carries in his car to kill London, and some stray dogs from the junkyard leap on Richard and Kendra to feed them. Kurt then contacts Bobby to get his opinion after taking his car to the car wash, but Bobby regrettably missed Kurt's triple kill. Kurt really doesn't interest him, so he really quit watching the webcast. Bobby responds to Kurt's insistence on knowing why he hasn't received the shout-out he promised by telling him he needs to emulate Jesse, who strikes him as genuine. Kurt revisits Jesse's social media accounts, but his envy leads him to make scathing remarks in the most petty manner possible, such as claiming that she doesn't even record her tales vertically. As a resentful Kurt makes his way to a suburban home, Jesse uploads the footage she shot in the car of Mario and Kurt being burned, and she goes to take care of her grandmother while documenting it for her social media. She is worried when the doorbell rings because they weren't expecting anyone, but it's only Mike, another stand-up comic, who wants to talk about some business-related matters. Kurt is actually visiting Bobby, who orders him to leave as they are not friends or collaborators. Kurt is doing this in front of the camera so his viewers can see and hear it all on his stream. As Kurt approaches Bobby and begs for assistance, Bobby taunts him, and Bobby's supporters wind up watching Kurt's stream to hear the other side of the story. Just as Kurt's stream finally hits double digits, he abruptly stabs Bobby with a knife. Bobby tries to protect himself with a gun, but Kurt overcomes him and murders him after a battle, even though his audience thinks it's all a hoax. Kurt hits triple digits by broadcasting his stream on Bobby's channel, looking through Bobby's belongings, and even filming himself taking a shower to get rid of all the blood. His father texts him at that very time, requesting a lift to a job. Kurt first declines to assist him as he wants to attend Jesse's event, but when Chris says he'll be meeting a well-known DJ, the chat knows the name and Kurt seizes the chance. When Kurt picks Chris up, their father-son dynamic is evidently uncomfortable, leading to a fight very quickly. When Chris discovers Bobby's pistol in the car, he chastises his son for it, which only leads to further fighting until they had to hide the gun since the police are closing in. When they eventually get to the club, they run across Uno, the well-known DJ, and they ask her if she can mention Kurt's channel in a social media post. She first declines, but as she grows weary of being there, she concedes to do the shout-out in exchange for Kurt taking her to a taco truck. When they eventually come across a taco vendor, Uno makes Kurt snap her photo and then wait in line for her as payment. Kurt scares consumers away with some obscene stories because the line is quite lengthy. Uno, in the meantime, searches the car and discovers the pistol Kurt stole from Bobby. She uses it as a prop for a few selfies. She then gulps down some water, but this is actually one of Kurt's secret concoctions, and she instantly faints. Uno is reduced to a mere corpse by the time Kurt returns to the car carrying the food, and he promptly discards the water bottle. Regretfully, this draws the notice of the police, who approach Kurt and demand that he do a field sobriety test while he acts as though Uno is his girlfriend who has just fallen asleep. Uno didn't drink enough to pass out, so she wakes up abruptly. Panicked, she shoots a police officer before fleeing. When Kurt decides to flee in his car, he is also pursued by one of the police officers who is after her. His live stream viewers are increasing to quintuple digits as a result of all of this. Kurt starts driving like a lunatic because he is desperate to get away from the police. He crashes into a homeless camp and intentionally kills a couple hobgoblins before his car flips. Mike, who keeps bugging Jesse and claiming to have several contacts, has given her a lift to her show in the meanwhile. Before her, this guy has a little introductory act, but he fails to get any laughter from the audience. But as Jesse reaches the stage, the crowd goes crazy right away, and Kurt is hiding in a corner with a pistol. After a couple of her typical quips, Jesse discusses her spree encounter with Mario and Kurt. She claims that she became somewhat reflective due to Kurt's need for social media followers. A large subscriber count won't bring you happiness, and regardless of views, all you're getting is criticism and hatred for the amusement of others. She ends her performance by destroying her phone on stage, shocking everyone and putting a stop to her dependency on social media with a mic drop. Kurt is moved by her words and makes the decision to depart without causing any trouble. However, he later finds out that his murderous rampage has caused the temporary suspension of the spree service. Kurt uses another app, GoGo, to get a ride. He gets into the car of David, a kind guy who immediately cracks jokes about not being the insane driver who has been murdering people all night. Kurt takes this personally and kills David in a matter of seconds. Back at the pub, Jesse decides to call for a GoGo in order to get away from Mike since she can't stand him and he won't stop recording her even if she deletes her social media accounts. Kurt is driving when David's automobile pulls up. He tells Jesse that he's the driver from earlier that she made fun of during her show. He also tells her that he saw her performance, so he is aware that she broke her phone and won't be able to use it to get assistance. Kurt tells Jesse that he's bringing her to his house so they can show love instead of hatred, thinking that she's defenseless. But Jesse fights back, strangling Kurt with a phone charging wire until the car slams into a garbage can. Hunched over, Kurt pulls the car over and punches Jesse, knocking her out. He then drags her body into his headlights as he drives her to his front lawn. When he asks the crowd to decide what to do with her, they decide that he should murder her. As his viewers bombard the chat window, Kurt prepares to run her down. But as the conversation calls him out on his foolish action, he loses sight of Jessie when he pulls over to fix a fallen camera. So he leaves the car to search for her. The audience is correct as Jessie seizes the opportunity to jump in the car, grab control of the steering wheel, and use it to run Kurt down straight away. Kurt has enough distance to avoid the car when she loses control and drives recklessly, going straight into the side of his house. Kurt then rushes into another room, trying to murder Jessie by forcing her face against the airbag, but Jessie pushes him away. Chris comes as well, surprised to see the home wrecked and Kurt's mother dead on the floor as Jessie tries to convince the livestream viewers that she needs aid. She was Kurt's first victim, it is later discovered, and he killed her off-screen just before leaving to deliver the lesson. Kurt emerges out of nowhere, takes Bobby's revolver from his car, and uses it to shoot his father many times, killing him in the process. In the meantime, Jessie tries to flee in the vehicle, but when putting it in reverse doesn't work, she merely pushes Kurt up into the wall by driving forward. When Jessie follows the chat's instructions to check on the body, she finds that Kurt is still alive. In the meantime, a flashback from a few minutes ago shows Kurt feeling like a champ since he had 50,000 people watching, forcing her to finish the job by bashing his skull with his phone. Jessie then agrees to take a body selfie when the conversation requests one. The word about Kurt's situation becomes viral in the days that follow. As a multimedia queen, Jessie becomes much more well-known than before, and while Kurt is hated by all reporters, some of the nastiest websites on the internet, including 4chan and Reddit, view him as a hero. As Kurt's admirers flood these sites with comments, one person discloses that a movie called Spree is being made on him.